What are you playing for music? It's fun.
All right, yeah, we're good to go. There we go. And let me bring in Severlin here. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the weekly Wednesday Lunchtime live stream on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. I am DDO's community manager, Cordovan, and I've got a special guest with me today. We're celebrating the release of Update 51. It's been out for about a week now, and we've got a patch in the works for tomorrow. And really a good opportunity to just kind of sit down, do some general Q&A with the DDO community. Ask away here is the point. For today's show. Let's welcome Severlin to the stream. How's it going, Sev?
Great. How are we?
Good, good. Very good. I've been working on 2 of my level 30 characters and getting all their epic destinies ready to go. I also recently TR'd a character, so I've been doing that some as well. And it's been a very killer week for Update 51. We've had a lot going on, so big times. People working through builds and what have you as well. We've shaken things up a little bit, so yeah.
That we have.
Yep. All right, so the point of the Q&A today is to be pretty open-ended. We'd be happy to take any and all questions. We can't guarantee an answer, but especially because we're going to just sort of take these as they come. But we will do our best to give you the best quality answers that we can. And I do have a little notepad thing in front of me. We did ask the forums as well to provide some questions here. I guess that's a little over 24 or so hours ago, and that was really just an opportunity to get some things to talk about as well, because we know that we're going to get some of that. So the first one that happened to come up here on the forums that we can answer is, have we considered selling individual, permanent, gold seal hirelings, like in the DDO store or the DDO market? We technically have the one, which is that low-level cleric that's in the starter pack. But for the most part, we've always kept them to expansions. Is there ever a thought that maybe we could bring them to the DDO market or store?
Well, so a couple things is we don't want to just put them in the market because it takes away an in-game source of gold. But our long-term plans for hirelings, and this is not set in stone, we may completely change this. But we have this vision of having your character be able to get hirelings and train them up. So you would start with low-level permanent hirelings, and actually they would train with you and you would equip them, and you'd basically create your own hirelings that would level with you. Is kind of our long-term goal now that we're past the epic destiny. So
that's been actually, I remember hearing about that years ago, as a matter of fact. The concept of that sort of leveling hireling.
You would be able to choose them, and they'd be more like a companion that you'd build, and you could have your own like small group of them for various tasks that could bring it in. So that's kind of what we're looking at. I think our tech allows hirelings to actually have equipment, but we just have to do all the UI stuff. So the reason that we haven't started just putting permanent hirelings in there, other than like cool, flavorful ones, like the Panther or the Scarecrow or the very many ones, is that we don't want to ruin the design space for when we eventually do that. So yeah.
All right. Let me bring in another question. This is one I'm pretty sure we've all but said it, and maybe we've just said it, but is Isle of Dread our next expansion?
Yeah, it's coming in the spring. The artists and animators are working on dinosaurs, and they're super psyched. They've been waiting to work on dinosaurs forever. And then we're going through all of that and figuring out what we're going to do. We're working on the large landscape for it. It probably won't be exactly like the classic mod. It'll be our own take on it. But yeah, like that is something that we are definitely working on, and will be, not our only big thing, but like it definitely will be a big thing late spring, maybe early summer. It's a
Yeah.
pretty big expand. It's a pretty big deal because of the the landscape and the dinosaurs. So it won't be as early in the year as perhaps we'd like.
We do have one adventure
Yeah.
pack and raid happening between now and then, however. That would be update 52, which, well, actually, no, wait a second. That might be 53, right? Because
Yeah.
52 is going to be, we have a quest coming in December here, and then we've got an adventure pack with a raid coming after that. And
The
then,
level increase.
yeah,
Isle of Dread will be a full expansion with level increase.
yeah. Okay. All right. And
That,
that'll be
that's it.
happening next year. So, yeah.
It would all the techs in place. We would have to have a complete like massive problem with the tech in order for that to not happen.
All right. Sounds good. I won't hold you to that any more than that. Next question. Has there been any more internal discussion on updating or adding to the benefits of VIP? Particularly, we recently had a bunch of quests go free, and we do work to retain value on our VIPs, but what are we going to do here in a world where a lot of quest packs are already free?
Well, that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
One of the issues about I I would love to bring as much joy to the players, and sometimes that is like, okay, how can we bring more free content to them so that it helps everyone? I don't know that we can go completely free, but doing the coupon kind of catches people up. Because one of the things that players were saying was when you first come in the DDO, it's hard to group because there's a lot of quests that you don't have yet. So in doing that, we definitely have to look back at the VIP to see what we can do there. And the problem is if I start talking about specifics that we've been looking at, it'll be seen as a promise. So I'm a little concerned about that. One of the things I'd like to see, and we have no basis in reality in this, is that for a long time, and I kind of would like to see where you can go to the adventure journal and teleport to the quest giver.
Hmm.
But the problem is you can't do teleports into landscape space. So we
Yeah.
can't teleport you to the um, entrance to the dungeon, but we could have certain packs that teleport you to the entrance to the landscape or just do anything. Because I think one of the issues that we're running into is that it's not clear how to use the adventure journal. I know, and so when new players come in and they're looking for the next quest, it's not intuitive to open the adventure journal, find quests of your level, and then find them. And if
Yeah.
we had some better stuff that moved that, but if the adventure journal teleport system, for instance, was free IPs, we were thinking about that, but would that alienate new players? So that's one of the other things. The other thing that I would like to do someday is single player housing. I know that we have it for Lotro, and that would be something that maybe a VIP can build additional things or build their single player house faster. But that's like 2023, 2024 if we need to do that. There's a lot of tech involved in it.
Yeah, I think there'll be some, that's pretty speculative stuff, maybe a little bit there. Just to say, I wouldn't expect that like next year or
Yeah, I
anything
would
like
love
that.
to get VIPs get some kind of loot bonus, maybe a
Yep.
bonus to how named items drop.
Yeah.
So as long as it doesn't feel as though non-VIPs can't compete, you have to be careful with changing how loot drops for VIPs because I want to encourage people to support the game, but I don't necessarily want, once you get into loot, we're crossing a border towards pay to win. It's one thing to accelerate your XP, but changing how loot drops is a completely different thing, and crossing that is a little dangerous in terms of that, in terms of straight up
Yeah.
VIP.
I do know that the e-commerce team, has had on their minds about preserving VIP benefit for a little while now. So I would expect to see some of that discussion and implementation perhaps happen in 2022.
Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah.
think the plan for the VIP, starting the VIP discussion revamps is January.
Mhm.
So The cosmetic closet would be awesome. The issue is that the way our cosmetics are implemented, we actually change an item in place into a cosmetic. That's what allows you to use the glamoring. And so it's not a singleton, and meaning it can't go into bags, it can't go into collections because it has a whole bunch of mutated information on it. Meaning essentially each cosmetic that you make out of gear is its own item in the database. It's not like a token that doesn't have information attached to it. So that complicates the cosmetic.
All right.
Monk Pass.
No, go ahead.
The team is eager to do a Monk Pass. I don't know when that's coming.
Just saying, you're to help those who maybe are watching on YouTube, Facebook. You're answering some questions from Twitch chat here, asking about a Monk Pass.
I'm seeing the Twitch chat.
Yep.
I mean, right now our main concern is lag. Lag has been bad since the Epic Destiny. So, and also bug fixes. So the patch tomorrow is going to address a lot of bug fixes.
Yeah.
Like a lot of them. There's the release notes for the patch tomorrow are large. But the other thing the patch tomorrow should do is we found and fixed a big source of lag. Now this won't fix everything. This won't be like, oh my God, I'm not seeing lag anymore. But we have seen in our tests a massive decrease in lag for this fix. So we're eager to get that fix.
And specifically, that is, if I remember correctly, a Reaper enhancement tree loading and unloading issue.
Well,
right?
That's not all of it, but
okay.
it should see significant improvements.
Yeah.
I don't want to pin this specifically on Reaper.
Okay.
So AI, one of the things about doing hirelings is learning how to manage the AI and basically leave them behind you. Like one of the things I have to do in a heal bot is you put down the little flag and you leave them in the back so that you can run back to them. If you have them running along with you, healing you, that can be great until A, it doesn't work, and B, they run into traps and they're down. And that's one of the things that you run into. One of the interesting things about DDO is that the AI changes from hireling to hireling because some of it is scripted and some of the abilities don't. They get confused on there, so you kind of have to help them along. Hirelings aren't supposed to be a full party member. Like if you want a full party member, grab other players. But hirelings can be significantly useful. You just have to micromanage them. Leave them in certain places and bring them along with you. And you know that when you really need that heal, they'll decide that to that time that you can't do the heal, so you have to hit the heal. You have to click on the heal. The other thing that I found is a lot of times players will be mad because the AI didn't heal them, but the AI is much less resilient to CC. So what's actually happening is something stunned or held or did something to your hireling, and it seems brain dead, but it's actually controlled. I don't know if that's always necessarily visible to the player. So
all right. Let me put up a question. This one is a fairly challenging question, but it does sort of flow based on what you've been talking about here. What about people who have, say, more than 156 Reaper points? There aren't a ton of them out there, but they do exist, and including a couple people in chat here. What are we going to do related to people who have that many Reaper points here in the future?
Okay, so in general, I don't mind if certain systems get finished. There are certain times when you just finish a system and then you look for other things in the game. I don't know if we want to do that for Reaper, but so sometimes you'll just finish, like there are certain types of loot that won't get upgraded anymore. There's certain types of cases where you won't need more of stuff. For Reaper in particular, one of the things that we want to do is, so one of the problems with the game is a new player comes in and the people with lots of Reaper points are so far ahead of them that they have a trouble finding groups. They're just locked out of that. So we'd like to change it so that, and picture, bear with me here because this is sort of a design thing. having the Reaper be a rating instead of trees that will continue to go up. And as the rating goes up, all of the stuff in the Reaper trees gets added in a sort of a reward track of some kind. So the more Reaper points you get, the more benefits you get. So instead of picking into the various trees, you'll kind of get them automatically. The reason we want to do this is even though it at first will give you less things to pick, is the players just fill out the trees anyway. It's not like you're limited. But we want the leader of the group or the highest Reaper point total to, when you join a dungeon, to the other people in the group inherit some of your Reaper power. That's why we want to do it. If you picture that Reaper changes into a rank, and when you go into a dungeon, all the people who are in your party kind of get part of your rank, some percentage of your rank. So if you want to bring a new player to Reaper and you have, say, 130 points, maybe they get, 105 of them. And right now we can't do that because of the tree structure. But if we changed it so that it was like linear, then we could actually do that and have the group basically give those benefits to other people. That means that you could have high Reaper people bringing newer players into Reaper, so those benefits get propagated, and that will bring in it will help players group a little bit, because one of the problems with the Reaper thing is the difference between the high Reaper person and someone with no Reaper is so big that it's really hard to group with those new players. They kind of come in and just get one shot. So that's one of the things that we want to do. When we do that, the track can just continue, meaning you people who love doing Reaper and get those points, you can drive your score up, to higher and higher, although obviously at the highest Reaper points, it would be very hard to do that because the cost is forever increasing. But you could be you could have like the highest Reaper rank on the server, and then when people group with you, they get a lot of Reaper benefit. So
neat. That's some. Now this is more of a kind of where we're currently thinking in theory, not so much an announcement of what we are going to be doing.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Just want to make sure before it gets written on the forums that we put that into.
Well, one of the nice things about
right?
One of the nice things about these is, is I talk about stuff that we're thinking about that we haven't announced yet, so that the players that are super engaged can kind of get like, where is your design head? What would you like to do? But this is not in any way an official announcement or something. But we do have the Reaper tech to do that. Yeah. The hardest part actually is doing the UI of like showing what you're going to get as you go up.
Yeah. Next question's going to come from YouTube here. This one from Vecna Greyhawk. The wording, I think, it will make sense in context. How is Lotro successful with cosmetics of random armor, but DDO needs a mirror of clamoring? Why essentially do we need to use mirrors of clamoring for our cosmetics, whereas our other game, Lotro, has this whole cosmetic tab and you just sort of put items into it?
I mean, why does Lotro have player housing? Like the two games diverged at some point, and the code base has the same seed, but they're very different code bases. The Lotro added cosmetics early enough that all the cosmetics are designed that way. In that the information is attached in such a way that when you take the item and add it to your cosmetic panel, it steals all of the information and puts it there. The Lotro items were never set up that way. The DDO items were never set up that way. So if we do some sort of cosmetic reward, we have to basically go and change all of the cosmetic APR information in the entire game on every armor piece in order to do that.
Yeah.
And I'd love to do that, but
it would be a Cloaks style project where someone would actually have to do that kind of granular work that on a massive scale, I think. Yeah.
Yes. And the only way I would do that is if it would provide significant play value, meaning it could be really cool if the player saw it as a collection. Like, hey, can you get every look in the game? And they're hunting that down. But for convenience, that would require so much engineering that the cost is really high, and I don't know whether after like I don't know a year of engineering whether it would be we would get the play value would be worth it.
Yeah.
It's just a massive undertaking.
It would be. All right, I want to take the next question then from Facebook. Make sure that we give everyone a little bit of love here. This one says when, but I think it's in some ways more a suggestion. What about making the bottle of mist, evening star key, etc., go into a UI like we did with mounts? We gave the mounts their own tab in the character sheet. Can we have a port or teleport clicky sheet tab?
The short answer is at some point we can do that. The mount system doesn't have mutations in it, which means that it can be put into a UI like this. So having a teleport UI is certainly something that we could do. And I think that it's been suggested by the dev team a couple of times, but I mean, obviously getting Epic Destiny revamped and fixing Epic Destiny has been our top priority. Now that we have a giant bug patch coming in tomorrow that will fix a lot of the Epic Destiny stuff, we'll have freedom to start stepping back and looking at it. But like, there have been a lot of extra hours on the recent patch, and some people need some time off, and Thanksgiving's coming, so bear with me as we look earlier into what's going to go.
This next question really is one more for the design team rather than the executive producer, but I'm going to ask it anyway, just to see what your thoughts are on it. Why did we lock Tier 5 Destiny abilities behind level 30? There was a player interest in maybe making it level, like, say, 29 or something like that.
Literally, it's because the players haven't seen the level increase yet.
Yep.
We could have made it 29, but we want the level 30 to lead into level 31 and level 32. It makes more sense. It doesn't make sense now because Isle of Dread hasn't come out and we haven't increased the level. So they're like, oh, I only get that if I am at level 30 and starting to do end game raids. And as soon as I reincarnate, I'm there in less time. Well, right now it makes no sense because the players are totally into, let me do a epic reincarnation because the new epic systems come up. They don't really have a reason to stick to the end game that much, and so they're not spending that much time at level 30. However, when Isle of Dread comes out and they're moving up from 31 to 32, and there's a whole new set of loot that will require them to be in there to go and play with, it makes more sense. So we're kind of looking ahead at that time. Yeah, I agree with you. If we were kind of stuck in this, that a 29 would be a good thing to do because you'd be able to play with it longer. But we really want the level 30 to seem like a new milestone as you go and go higher level. So bear with us on that. I agree with you that right now it's like, why would I have it at 30 when we could have it at 29? But it'll make more sense in the context of our long-term plans is what we're hoping.
Great. All right. Next question. I believe this one is from Facebook as well. Is there work being done to update the general user interface to get DDO into, say, like a 4K, even in some cases 2K graphic level? Is there work being done on in-game support and getting tickets handled any better? So those are actually two questions. Let's handle the 2K and 4K question first.
Right. Let's talk about the ticket.
Yep.
We have a new CS manager. Our old CS manager was awesome, but she actually took classes and went to school, and she has been moved over to brand, which is fantastic. Mm-hmm. So she's been rocking it. And we have a new CS manager, but he's coming up to speed. Also, we have new CS agents. So what we've done for CS, we're moving everything into a new portal so that the tickets can be tracked more easily and move through the system more quickly. We brought on new agents, and we have a temporary agent starting, I think today, to help with the holidays. And we have a whole bunch of new heart tools. We have a whole bunch of tools to help our agents help players in. But the issue is that because we have a new manager and a lot of new agents, things are slow, and we have a backlog of tickets that we're starting to work through. So I know that on your side, you're seeing like there's still long waits. We're working our hardest to get through that, and So now that the new tools are in place, now that we're slowly moving towards having players put their tickets in a new portal, and now that we have new agents, we'll be moving ahead on that. And you should see better. You should see better results on the CS side.
Okay. And then what about
For the
2K or
graphics, for the
4K?
graphics,
Yeah.
yeah, for the graphics, we're waiting to free up engineering. Right now, all of my engineering work is looking into lag. So once we get more traction on that, then we can start looking at 4K. It turns out that people that can the 4K is, as I've talked about before, is actually a really expensive thing to look at because it requires UI scaling, and UI scaling requires us to essentially upscale all of the icons in the game, and we have a lot of icons.
Something like
when we
10,000
looked
plus.
into,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm like, how hard can it be to give 4K support? And when we looked into it, just the art costs alone were like 9 months of like upscaling work.
Yeah.
So we're looking into things like having auto scaling of some of the UI elements, and so that we can try to automate some of that work, and working on 4K support. I mean, I get it. I have a 4K monitor, and there's nothing worse than trying to play DDO and having all of my UI elements get really small and hard to read. So those are the things we're looking at. Once we get lag, once we get more work on lag, then I would expect us to kind of look at that next year. So,
all right. This one is a little bit out of left field, but let's this one's from the forums. Any plans to update the Evening Star loot to current numbers?
I mean, that'll be something that we're looking at. But if we're going to start talking about updating, I think, so questions that go into like specific enhancements or specific loot packs probably beyond the scope of this discussion. I'm more talking about like kind of meta stuff.
All right. Well, let's head more into 2022, and let me expand the question here a second. When will we see the next level cap increase?
With Isle of Dread.
And what is coming next for new content and the next expansion? We did mention that we've got a free quest happening in December, an adventure pack with a raid in. After that, January-ish, January, February, something like that.
Let's not start giving months.
Yeah, I don't know. Earliest, yeah.
Complex, but yes,
yes.
You'll see that, and then you'll see the Isle of Dread.
Yep, and the Isle of Dread is an expansion.
Yep.
Yes. What about our new producer? Do we want to say anything about that yet?
Yeah. New producer should be starting. Yep. So basically, what we're doing is. We've interviewed some people, but the new producer is going to be hopefully rolling in beginning of the year. Let's hold off on that announcement so that we can post something officially on the forums.
Sounds good. And you'll still be doing your work here for DDO once that happens.
Yeah, I'm still the studio head and executive producer for both games.
Yeah. All right. There we go. Do you see anything on Twitch here you want to answer? Well, like quick bop through
Someone
the
is
forums.
talking about how the R10s have become easier. The new Epic Destinies are rocking it, but yes, the players are more powerful now. So we're going to have to do some kind of Reaper pass in order to balance for them. One of the things that we're looking at for Reaper is, what can we do to shake up the Reaper meta? What can we do to make it feel, very powerful? And is there something that we can do with Reaper 11? Turn it up to 11 if you get that joke. The other thing we were thinking of doing, and this is not in any means an announcement, is having a check mark that you can run Reaper without maybe at less power or debuffed, or without some of your Reaper enhancements or something like that. So we realize that with the Epic Destiny Pass, doing high Reaper has gotten significantly easier, and that is something that we want to look at.
All right, this next one comes from the forums. This person asked a bunch of questions, but I really can't do a whole long list of questions here because it would just take up too much of the time here today. But I thought the one that would maybe be the most provocative is this one. Can we get rid of the super annoying reincarnation cache?
Oh yeah, like we no, I mean, the problem is what do you do if they have loot, right? Nobody likes the reincarnation cache, and what's worse is we don't like it because it causes lag when players try to use it as storage. What happens is they have a whole thing and they throw it in there and they just keep it in storage. It's sometimes it goes missing. I'd love to get rid of it. We don't have another solution. The other solution would be like to mail all of your stuff to you, but we don't want to increase the load for mail either. So that has been a kind of a hobgoblin of ours for a long time. But I agree with you. There's got to be a better way for the reincarnation cache than what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Next question here, also from the forums. Is there anything at all that we can do? Oh, pop that back up. There we go. Is there anything at all that can be done about the platinum capacity per character? Can we remove gold, silver, and copper from the game and move to a plat standard or something like that?
Yes, we could probably roll that out. I don't know that we want to increase the plat cap right now. I mean, part of inventory management will be figuring out how you're going to deal with plat. So I'm not ready to talk about the plat economy. We know that at high level you can sell items for far too much, which means that just getting items and selling them accelerates your plat. So the low level people kind of feel starved and the high level people just get flooded with it. But I don't want to start we don't have specific plans or a large design in place that I want to talk about it, because if I say the wrong thing or I try to give the thoughts on it, I don't want players to think that, the design team is behind.
Sure.
So I apologize for copping out on that question. I think that it's a good question. We would love to have a platinum economy again, but like the players can generate so much plat at high level, we'd have to really rethink that.
All right. What about the concept of mega servers? This is something that's come up on Q&As in the past.
I brought it up.
Yep.
Our intention was to do mega servers, but right now our master servers they can't keep up, both because of memory and because of hardware. So we ran into a dead end with that. So right now we're working on 64-bit servers. We want to start by having 64-bit mega servers, master servers and the master server is the server that basically communicates with all of the instance servers. So when you go in a dungeon, you're in an instance server, but the master server communicates with all of the instance servers, and work on that. But until we get the master server would have to have a tremendously increased capacity, and right now it doesn't. So once we go to 64-bit servers and work on performance, we can revisit it. But my main thing right now is lag. We really need to get down the lag, and until I do that, I can't really justify trying to do mega servers.
Yeah. All right. Someone wants to know where the new raid will be. Is it set in Sharn, Feywild, Saltmarsh, something else? Do we want to say anything about that?
Do we want to spoil it?
Yeah.
I don't think we want to spoil it.
Yeah.
I think we want to wait on that. I don't want to spoil future content.
Yep.
It is cool, though.
All right. This one's from Apocalypse Dom, and as you might expect, it does involve the next season of Hardcore. We have said, well, I said yesterday, that the next season of Hardcore, or maybe it was 2 days ago, the next season of Hardcore is set to start in December. We have not given a specific date on that, and that it will be a redux of the first season on a shorter time frame. However, we will have a new Season 5 cloak. So while you'll be able to get, say, like the Bloody Footprints again, that's one of the big drivers of it, you will have a new cloak, and the Season 5 people will not get the Season 1 cloak there. But he wants to know, why did we decide to reoffer old Hardcore rewards for this next season, and how long will the shortened season be?
So the the philosophy of having exclusive rewards is different from player to player. If you have achieved an exclusive reward and you remember fondly how cool you felt about having the reward, then you're all for rewards, right? Because you have in your mind that. And if you've never done that, or there's an exclusive reward you couldn't get and now it's unavailable to you, it really sucks. So you have, and some players are in the I love exclusive rewards, and some players aren't. So as a EP, I don't like that new players come in and they feel that they can't experience the full breadth of the game and get stuff, because it makes it feel like limited. But I also have, in games I played, gotten that, like, oh, I finally found the really rare item, and it's kind of cool walking around and having people be like, oh, that's so cool, I wish I could have that. So it's a philosophical difference. For me personally, running a game, I am more generous in that exclusivity has a time, meaning you can get something exclusive for a time, but eventually it'll come back around so more and more people can get it. So if you're talking about something like the footprints, you've had your bloody footprints kick ass for what, a year and a half, maybe 2 years, but eventually it'll come around where other people can jump on. And I mean, it's a hardcore reward. It's by no means a drop in the bucket easy thing to get, even if we bring it back for hardcore. But that, I understand that there are players where the philosophy is, look, I have this reward. I don't want other people to get it because it, if other people get it, it's less exclusive for me. I get it, but I think as an EP, I tend to be more generous in opening ways for other players to get it. And I understand that there are some players that may disagree with that. And it's a hard gaming design philosophy to walk the line on that.
All right. Next one is a question that seems to come up every time you're on the show, which is, what about psionics? Are we likely to see psionics introduced in the future?
Not in the near future, and I'll tell you why. So, Alchemist is an awesome class, but creating all of the unique alchemist spells took us a long time, way longer than I expected. And so we can't just jump on psionics and do the same thing. It was really expensive in order to do that. So when we're ready to do psionics, we need the lead up time to be able to implement all of the spells. We could do a new class with fewer spells more easily, but the time it took to implement Alchemist was so big that we would expect to take the same timeline to do psionics. Now, the good news is once we do like the Scion, then you can use kind of the same spells for the Psychic Warrior or the Soul Knife, or however we're going to do that. But the initial pass of doing all of the spells would be, if it's equivalent to Alchemist, and we believe that it would be, then it would be. It just takes a long time. That's why we've shied away from psionics. So, I mean, I'd like to do psionics at some point, but certainly not in 2023.
All right. This next question isn't actually a question, but I think it's worth talking in general about a bunch of different questions. And that is, they wanted to know a little bit about class balance in the wake of Update 51. What are our plans to sort of deal with Epic Destiny balance here in the coming patches?
Balance is an ongoing thing. I don't want players to think that we'll ever be done with balance, because the interesting thing is we can get balance in some sort of state that we think it's good or that the players suggest. And by the time we do it, the meta has changed. Someone's found like the 3 new builds, and all of a sudden the balance gets dumped. Everyone is playing casters because of some change. So it's an ongoing thing. We will constantly be doing balance changes. We'll be doing passes on trees. We'll be doing passes on the Epic Destinies. Tomorrow's patch will make a lot of changes for fixes and balance already, right? Because the Epic Destiny has definitely shaken up the meta. But one of the things that we have to be careful for is that the Epic Destiny is relatively new. I mean, it's only been out a couple of weeks. Well, I don't expect that the best builds for Epic Destinies will be. It might be until, early next year before we really get a handle on what the meta is. I don't want to be reactionary and change things unless they're obviously broken, right? And then find out that and I've seen this in both our games and other games where by the time they implement the balance changes, like the meta's changed and people are like, why are you doing that? Like that build was hot 2 months ago, but no one's playing it anymore. And you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that one of the things we want to do once we do the big bug fix pass is like, okay, we need to step back and let the players play with the Epic Destinies. This isn't a situation where you pick an Epic Destiny and that's pretty much your DPS. Now that they can mix and match, we have to let I don't want to be reactionary until the meta has fully sort of bubbled out and players have figured out their builds. Because there's a lot there between multi-classing in Heroic and then essentially multi-tree doing the Destinies. There is a lot of build stuff to be figured out.
All right, this one is a bit of a wish list question, but what about ever getting a secondary use for filigree? People get a lot of filigree if you play a bunch, and could we ever feed it to our sentient gems, even a couple of XP a pop?
Probably not. We want to keep filigree as cosmetics. One of the things, if I was going to do a filigree thing, I would basically have a vendor sell specialty cosmetics for a high amount of filigree, so that you could do that, like armor recolors and stuff. One of the things I would love to do.
You do get a lot of filigree at this point. A lot of us have quite a bit of it. So.
Yeah. So and that's the issue is that you'll put out filigree and you'll put new stuff on the vendor and everyone will just spend their filigree and buy it. I would love to come up with a way that constantly fills filigree, but we're not going to allow. We want to keep filigree separate from things that increase power, so that filigree is about cosmetics, and we don't want it to be able to be fed for XP or whatnot.
All right, back to more commerce-related question. I often ask, will DDO point codes come back to the DDO market? Right now, the DDO market does not offer gifting nor points codes.
I think that's one of our long-term goals. That's one of the issues about going with a new market is there are some things that, it just takes, we're marching forward to add new tech. So no promises there, but we know that the players have been asking for them and have asked for gifting. One of the issues with gifting, as everyone knows, is that once you can gift, account theft becomes a bigger and bigger problem. The more you can gift, the more you can move value from one account to the other, the more account theft becomes more and more valuable to do. And so that's one of the things that you have to be careful of.
Okay. I'm looking through questions here.
I saw some questions about new races. Isle of Dread should have a new race and a new iconic.
Okay.
So that'll be fun. I've seen some of the concept art for it, and it looks really good. Should I spoil it? What do you think?
I don't think so. I think we need to hang off on what the new race is going to be.
About what it is.
Yeah, because that's going to be probably a big announcement for early next year or something like that, I would think. So, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't want to, just in case they've maybe got some kind of marketing thing in the works, I wouldn't want to spoil it on a Q&A here, right? So.
Let's see, what else? ETA on Alchemist Arty, Warlock ED trees. The whole team just spent so much work on EDs that you don't necessarily want to, let's ask about new ED trees maybe next year after they've had vacation and they're refreshed. I don't think that I think that making new ED trees right now, even though they were super enthusiastic about it at the beginning of this process,
It was a
is not
lot. It
I
was a
want to push.
lot.
There's a lot of work done on the
Yeah.
EDs.
Yeah.
Let them rest in that a little bit before we start getting new ones.
Well, and on top of
Uh,
that, honestly, we do have we have a patch set for tomorrow, and quite a few Epic Destiny fixes. So they've been working on Epic Destinies pretty hardcore for another week here, post or 2 weeks here rather. Since post release? So we've got a bunch of fixes in the works as well. So yeah, I bet they would rather not think about Epic Destinies for at least a couple of days here.
yes.
All right,
Yeah.
so here's kind of an odd question. This one comes from YouTube. Will there ever be a way to roll back a level if you make a mistake? What about an undo for your character level?
I know. There's just no
Yeah.
way. I mean, having looked and worked in that code, like that would be so hard to do. Yeah, like basically reincarnation is essentially the way you do that. If you need to roll back a level, then you need to do not a true reincarnation, but a small reincarnation because it requires, all of the steps to go to maintain the integrity of the tree. Rolling back is not something that I is likely to happen in the near future.
Airmaiden wants to know when we'll see that bug fixes list. I could actually, sort of at the tail end of the show here, go over the notes. They'll be published in a few hours this afternoon.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
if you can spare the extra time.
Yeah,
I,
sure.
I can stay on a little later, but probably not enough time to go through the whole patch notes with
No,
you.
it would make sense for me to just go through the patch notes at the end rather than take away this Q&A time for it. So, but I can do that. That's fine. It'll take about 5 minutes at the end of the show. So, this is a question I can actually answer since I'm looking at Twitch chat here. Why do we not have like cosmetic tie-in giveaways to Twitch? That involves tying into the Twitch API specifically, which our game does not currently support in terms of having that API connection. And if you did Twitch, that would just apply to Twitch rather than say the other API offerings that maybe you could do given the same amount of time and effort, right? So it's a cool idea, and it's something I've always thought about doing, like a Twitch drop or something like that. But the process of integrating the API is actually not trivial. It's a fairly significant task.
ETA for closed raids to be opened tomorrow. We're going to open a lot of the content, but I think 2 raids will remain closed. And I think we had a problem where one of the epic quests in the Sentinel chain, we had an issue we found bugs with, so that might remain closed too. And we're trying to decide whether we want to open up the Sentinel chain on Epic, even though the players won't be able to finish the entire chain. You know what I mean? Because you'll run into this one dungeon closed until we can open it a little later.
Yeah, we will have the Sansom and Nectaron will be live after tomorrow's patch, and the other one, the Firling Carnival, will be open as well as of tomorrow's
Those
patch.
will be good. That'll be good to go over the patch notes.
Yeah.
We'll tell you exactly.
Yeah. All right. Someone wants to know, can you talk a little bit more about the level cap increase? What's the general 2022 outline for level cap increase? What should players know now, and what should they expect maybe to hear about down the road?
I'm not. So there's a lot of content right now that is sitting at 30, but it's actually higher level than that because, the players were gaining in power. Our goal with Isle of Dread is not only will Isle of Dread be a full expansion to level, but some of that content that exists at Endgame will be kind of pushed or made available or upgraded to help round out that Endgame at first, so that some of your favorites may become relevant again, so that the level, that the people there that have a couple of different levels will have stuff to do. The new level will not increase the Epic Destiny reincarnation. Like heroic Epic Destiny will go from 20 to 30. So your Epic Destiny reincarnations won't get harder. What will happen is, if I recall correctly, it suppresses the new levels as you're doing your Epic Destiny reincarnation, and then when you get to 30, the new levels come back online. But don't quote me on that. I have to check. That was one of our early designs, but I'd have to look at what the design actually does now.
Okay.
So that's our current plan, is not only to provide, like, obviously tons of content in Isle of Dread, but also bringing some of this end game content that is already CR 32 or and just making that relevant for the end game, so that people have stuff to do.
Yep. No, it is not just you, Q Lemmy, or however you say that. The Spinner of Shadows is currently, you have to use the Spinner of Shadows drops to light those torches. You can't use the spells that you were used to until tomorrow. That'll be fixed tomorrow as well.
Yeah. What else? Thumbs up to Talus something that keeps asking about Monk Pass. That's one thing that we want to do. I'm there with you. I also feel that, like, I really like the new Epic Destiny Pass, but from looking at it, it seems like a lot of our monks seem to have a hard time finding their new build. Is that the case?
I don't know that I could definitively speak on that myself. I would.
That, like, when the Epic Destiny Pass went live, like, some of the monks were having a hard time, even though we have a Grandmaster of Flowers, finding, like, their new build. And I think that's one of the things that we do want to look at. I know the team is eager to kind of do the monk pass, but I think it was exasperated by some of the monk stuff that they were doing. Was they're having a hard time finding, like, that really kick-ass monk build with the new Epic Destiny system, and that's something I'd like to see us look at. I think that I think the Epic Destiny system, that's one of the things that when you shake up the meta is there's so many builds out there.
Yep.
So.
All right. Let me see what else we should mention here.
Did that. We'd like to add some small stuff to the winter event. It's hard because we don't have much time between it going. So we want to swap up the cookies and change the coins and maybe some new prizes, but it will be limited to what we can accomplish from now until it goes live. So we only actually have like 10 days because there's Thanksgiving coming and people need well-deserved vacations. So I apologize on the festival stuff.
All right, this one is a wish list item of sorts. Any chance of an iconic being entirely undead? Can we have really an undead iconic vampire or ghoul or something like that?
So I don't know that we would do iconic undead because we need a race to attach it to. One of the things we were thinking of doing is doing a revenant universal tree. We'd like to revisit Ravenloft. We have this vague idea of revisiting Ravenloft now that Van Richten's guide is out. And if we did that, we'd love to have as part of that a revenant tree that you could basically, you're returned from the dead, so that any character could basically become more undead. So that's our goal. Probably the next big thing after Isle of Dread would be more Ravenloft. Ravenloft is super popular, and for our Ravenloft expansion, and I think that Van Richten's gives us a lot of cool stuff to look at.
All right.
We talked about the gifting options already.
Angie wants to know on Facebook about this is a specific issue. We've had a couple players lose some tomes upon reincarnation post update 51. They're in the customer service system right now. They want to know basically what are we going to do about it. We do have customer service working on that right now to get you your stuff back, and I believe we have a fix. Yeah.
We're aware of that specific thing, which is really weird because we can't reproduce it. And after we fix the bug with the Epic Destiny reincarnation, we hadn't seen anything like that until this. So there's definitely something weird happening. We looked into it and didn't see a root cause for it, but once CS is catching up, bear with us, and then hopefully they'll be able to get to you.
Yeah, yeah. They should be able to work with you and get that resolved.
I'm not going to spoil the class that's going to be tied to
Yeah.
the iconic race because that would potentially spoil the race. So
I see a lot of. What about if we do right now? Let's see. Actually, can we get rid of the rechoosing all feats, skills, etc. when epic TRing as an option to keep things as they were? Okay, so if you want to epic reincarnate and keep all your stuff, can we make that as an option? Basically, I want to retain everything, from 1 to 20, just like it was.
I'd have to look at that. My feeling is because the way they programmed the level increase, it's so intricately tied to what's before it. I am not confident that we could do that without significant risk.
Yeah. All right, I think we'll probably wrap it up there. I'm going to go into the release notes here for a few minutes.
Today.
Yeah, I know. I was just saying, what's this, the psionic stuff?
That, they liked it, and then it went away, and then now they're all being like, "What about psionics?"
Yeah, I mean, sure.
I'm a big fan. I like them, but probably not in 2023.
Yeah, 2022. Yeah,
2022 rather.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I've got a few minutes here to go over release notes. So we'll say goodbye to you here, Sev. Thank you so much for joining us here for some Q&A on the weekly Wednesday lunchtime live stream. And I will probably have you back at some time between now and the end of the year to do some kind of wrap-up thing, I would imagine. So
Sure.
Yep.
Awesome.
All right. Well, sounds good. Thank you very much, Sev, for being there. And if you guys will hang on real quick yourselves, I'm going to get the release notes set. And I will go over that at the very end of the show here. What do I got? All right. So I can't really display the notes to you, but like I say, they will be visible in a couple of hours. And in the meantime, well, I mean, can I do this without getting in trouble? No, I can't. Okay, so here's the release notes then before we wrap up the show, and then I'm also going to look at the bonus, although I don't think we actually have the bonus set, at least as of yesterday afternoon. So for Epic Destinies, and this is for our update 51.1 release notes that'll be published this afternoon. It's going live tomorrow. When resetting Epic Destinies with Platinum, the Platinum multiplier for further Epic Destiny resets is being reduced by half. So that's if you are doing further Epic Destiny resets within a short period of time, there's a multiplier that's involved in terms of the Platinum cost. That cost is being reduced by half. That should smooth out and greatly reduce the cost for some of you. Many of you, actually. We are clarifying that every Epic Strike shares a cooldown with every other Epic Strike by putting that information into the tooltip. We're doing a whole bunch of general typo and text corrections across the new Epic Destinies. The new Epic Destinies will no longer force reset the Feydark Illusionist Enhancement tree when you log in. We are going to be giving Magus's Core 2 and Exalted Angels Core 2 their proper 10% maximum spell point pool. They will no longer erroneously give out 10% reduction to the cost of spells. For Draconic Incarnation, we're properly hiding the second and third cores in the buff bar, Exalted Angel. The enchantment DCs will now have its correct icon. Holy Command will now have a functional saving throw, matching the spell level and DC of the pillar spells it comes from. Holy Command, will no longer work on bosses, and will function like Greater Command in terms of the valid targets it affects. That means basically non-bosses. Delayed Judgment now is a functional saving throw and will properly scale. Born by Flame will properly give light resistance. Leap of Faith will properly recharge. There is no longer broken formatting in Flaming Sphere's tooltip, and the damage and healing effects of Exalted Angel's Epic Moment Ascendance will now properly scale with spell power, the exception being the heal to full-on use, which is not meant to scale. We got some fixes with Fate Singer, Discord Stun, now working like a typical stun in terms of what it affects. The size of the radius of the healing effect generated by Majesty is being greatly increased. The radius of the Mantle damage burst is being increased quite a bit. Mantle now correctly scales with the highest in melee or range power. And Rain's tooltip is fixed. Fate Singer's upgrade to Spell Singer's Reverberate will no longer break its ability to stack. Over in Fury of the Wild, we've got Wade Through getting its correct minimum level. Great Leveler now using the Trip DC boosters instead of the incorrect stun boosters to drive its DC. Grandmaster of Flowers, Drifting Lotus now has its original range and area of effect placement and will properly respect stunning immunities. Legendary Dreadnought. Battle Engineer's Shattered Defenses will no longer fail when you have Legendary Dreadnought's Tier 5 Sundering Swings. And just some tooltip stuff. Magus of the Eclipse, the base spells for Call Kindred Being will show their proper icons. Imperceptible Casting, Exalted Angel's Subtle Flame will lock each other out again. SLAs and Magus of the Eclipse will properly list their max caster level. We have Moonlance and Gloom Spear having their intended max caster level of 20, up from 18. Cold Light and Dark Light will now have tooltips clear about what does and does not work with them. Passive bonuses from Null Magic Aura now properly apply, including the bonus to spell DCs. Null Magic Aura has its intended 2-minute cooldown. And we've got some text stuff as well. Primal Avatar, the minimum level requirement for several abilities corrected. Ally spells will now ground targets to determine where the ally is created with no offset. Ally spells now ground targets. So that's basically a thing to help apply ally spells in Primal Avatar. Natural shielding will no longer kill undead pets. Sorry. Thrive now works correctly. Shadow Dancer corrected an issue with the cooldown of Weird. Weird is now properly a fear-based spell benefiting from fear DC boosts. No longer automatically prepared for Artificers. And Shadow Dancer's Core 3 now properly boosts Alchemist's evasion feat. Shirati, Beguile will now properly charm enemies, although it is going to be missing its visual effects until the next patch for some reason. It's a known issue there. The Prism Mantle will now correctly describe the amount of damage that can proc. Otherwise, just really some text and tooltip work and formatting work. Good Luck now has its listed Fortitude and Will saving throw bonuses. Unyielding Sentinels, Mind Control Protection now grants properly, and Rank 3 of Strength and Vitality now grants its hit points correctly. Feats that claim to modify poison, negative, and positive spell critical damage will now correctly do so. The legendary items for Sands of Nectarin are going to be in there. You can get them from the Altar of Legendary Rituals in the 12. Fixing some augment slots on some Epic Sands items. The Spinner of Shadows issue that was referenced earlier will work again. The Spinner will again be debuffed by direct contact with the Spirit of the Silver Flame, and the issue with not being able to use certain spells on it should be fixed. Including also one with Inferno of the Damned. That'll be in there as well. We do have a possible performance fix. This has to do with adding and removing bonuses from Reaper enhancements when you enter and leave Reaper dungeons. We've done a bit of a overhaul to that entire code process that should hopefully have a improved game performance for people who are being impacted by that. Holy Aura is now going to apply to the caster. Divine Wrath will no longer attempt to remove endless Ardor stacks. And then we have a small tooltip adjustment for epic spell power feats and legendary feats in the character sheet. You can read about that in the notes. It's too complicated to get into here. It ends up being the same amount listed. It just listed under different pools so that it can be more readable on your character sheet. And that's what we got for the update 51.1 release notes, which are going to be going live tomorrow. And that's what we got going on. So that plus update 51. Let me just real quick check, see if I can get you a bonus before I wrap up the show here today. But I don't actually know that I'm going to be able to. So we'll see. Let me take a quick look at Twitch chat as well. I have not had an opportunity to do so while I was going through all of the different release notes. Can we have hireling folders go on sale? Maybe. Can someone explain what psionics are? Well, it depends on what edition you're going for and all that sort of thing. Historically, psionics are basically kind of neener mind spells. How's that? It's sort of an alternate spellcasting system that really involved the processing of mental energy. Have you ever seen the movie Scanners? Kind of like that, but it doesn't always make your head explode. All right, what do we got for this weekend? Hey, we do have our listed bonuses of a 30% crafting XP boost, along with double Mysterious Remnants. That's twice the chance for Mysterious Remnants to proc when defeating a champion. So that'll kick off late morning Eastern Time tomorrow and run through Sunday. Double Mysterious Remnants and a 30% crafting XP boost. So there we go. And I think that should largely take care of questions. I'm just doing one quick look through YouTube and Facebook. No plans to make a Hexblade class that I'm aware of. All right, there we go. All right, thank you so much, everyone, for watching the weekly Wednesday lunchtime live stream on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. Hope you got something out of it. I'll be back next Wednesday with more questing. I'm on Argonus, and right now I've got a level 30 character who's heading, recently redid their Epic Destinies. We'll be playing that character a little bit, in addition to some other stuff in the works as well. We also have a free quest that's going to be hitting last I heard in December, and so I think we'll be having a preview of that on Lamania here in the relatively near future. We do also have Festival happening in December, and of course we got our big Black Friday sales. That's going to be a next week thing, so quite a bit to look forward to. Thank you so much for being here, and I will talk to you again in the future. See ya.